cool.
Welcome to In the Zone, number 53. I am Craig Zimmerman, and sitting across from me, we got a new guy, Quentin Bishop. Welcome, Quentin.
Hi, Craig. How are you doing today?
Good, good.
Good.
So, Quentin, you are new to the St. Clair community, and you are the City of St. Clair Superintendent.
Yes.
And
yes.
as we talked about earlier, my question to you was, what's the difference between a city superintendent and sometimes the wording of city manager? It's sort of one and the same, except St. Clair, you said, just use the term supervisor.
Yeah, it's semantics, right?
Okay.
So written into the city charter, they were named as city superintendent, but all the roles, responsibilities, and essentially the job description is out of a city manager.
Okay.
It is it. Yeah.
So you were born and raised where?
I was raised in the Thumb.
Okay.
And so I'm a country kid,
Okay.
right? And so a lot of people will say, oh, like country kids, or he's from Marlette, that kind of thing, right? Let me tell you, growing up in the Thumb, in which in some extent, the Thumb area, the Thumb Coast, as we're
Sure.
calling it as of recently,
Yep.
right? It embodies a group of people, and if you were to put a description on that demographic, right? People from the Thumb, they know how to work.
Yep.
They know how to cooperate with one another, because you have to. Like
Yeah.
in settings like Marlette, you need to be a good neighbor. And I think that as a young man growing up in there, lessons I learned were like civility, right? That was huge.
Sure.
You need to know how to operate in small groups, right? And you learn how to communicate pretty early on, because we didn't have resources as some other communities had, right?
Sure.
So you really had to do less with more, right?
Okay.
Or do more with less, I should say.
Now,
Yeah.
how big a town is Marlette? Population roughly?
Oh shoot, we've seen a decrease across the Thumb population. I mean, we're on a slide right now. Just I think a better way to look at it is like look at the school population, right?
Okay.
So from the school conferences, we've seen a shrinking in population of about 9%, 10% on a clip.
Okay.
Right, and so our graduating class, let's say on average in the early 2000s, was pushing around 100.
Okay.
Right, you might be pushing 50,
Okay.
60.
Which is similar to what's going on in
Yeah.
St. Clair and East China schools.
You see the consolidation
Yeah.
happening, right? So then you ask yourself, like, well, what's the root cause of that, right? Well, you can go all the way back to the Great Recession back in 2008, and you can say, listen, there was a flight out because
Yep.
the jobs were in scarcity. Well, who went? People were raising families,
Yep.
people who needed to get out. They started families and didn't return,
Right.
right? But look at the community around us. I mean, we're set up perfectly for an older population
Right.
who really enjoys the waterfront. We have great public service, and the amenities are right here. So it has shifted. You can tell the population has shifted, but we need to really focus on talent attraction, and we need to do and make hard decisions on what it's going to take to keep young professionals, and then those who are thinking about going to college the next couple of years, putting a hook in them now and saying, hey,
Sure.
let's give them a reason to return.
Yep.
Right? Because listen, they have choices.
Well, I've
and we're
often
competing with
said,
that.
this was not in our list of things, but I've often said SC4, St. Clair County Community College.
Mm-hmm.
I went there, and because I'm involved in schools with football and doing different things, I'll ask kids all the time, what are you doing after high school?
Mm-hmm.
And it bothers me to this day that the answer out of, I'd say 7 out of 10 kids, if I say, what are you doing? And if they're going to SC4, they'll say, well, I'm just going to SC4. And to me, that I hate that. And I say, no, it's not just going, it's as good as going away to Oakland University or some other college.
Yeah. Okay. So what we've said is we've normalized post-secondary education to the point where there's branding now.
Right.
Right. And that they're associating an investment, and that's what it is.
Yes.
College is purely an investment into
Yep.
some unknown future, and you're saying, okay, based on my interests and my skills and abilities, I'm going to invest my time and money into this place. But because we've said to everybody
Right.
for how long, you must go to college, you have to do this, branding is taken over, so there's tiers now.
Right.
So just going to SC4, come on, it's
Yeah,
a great
it is.
education.
Yeah.
Think about like the education that you could receive in a community such as ours,
Right.
with the professionals we have teaching you, to turn right around and seek employment. Like,
Right.
it is a pipeline.
Well, and
you know?
then if you look at the value perspective of it,
Oh,
it's
sure.
probably 50 cents on the dollar as compared to going away to college.
Oh, the money argument's
Yeah.
going to stand for itself,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
money argument's going to stand for itself, but even so, if you told a ninth grader, a high schooler,
Yeah.
right, before you graduate, you are going to take personal finance as a requirement.
Yep.
Personal finance.
Yes.
Okay, and then we're going to map out a future for you, not only for the next 4 years through high school, but for the next 8 years, right? That concept of mapping out 8 years is so foreign
Yes.
right now, but it's so imperative that we get that mindset to a young person about, hey, everything you're doing from about 15 and 16 to 24 really matters.
Oh yeah, it's the foundation.
It really, really matters. And so what are the things, I have 3 kids, right? My wife gets on me quite a bit about how much I'm harping on, like, right, we're talking about counting
Right.
principles and things like that. Like,
and they're how old?
11, 9.
Right.
4, too.
Right.
I got the third one. But you know what? Like accounting principles,
Yes.
right? Civil government, right? We talk
Yep.
about leadership.
Yep.
We talk about 7 habits in our home consistently. It's because those things that they're going to get touched on, they're going to get mentioned. But I feel it's my responsibility raising up young men is that. Listen, you have to know these things that are going to affect your life, so the skill sets are even more important.
So when you get to 19, you're not behind.
Yeah. Or the word I keep hearing about is like undecided.
Sure.
I don't know. It's okay we don't know, because people even as adults shift careers because
Sure.
they didn't know,
Yeah.
right? But it's more about being ready when the opportunity presents itself on how to know how to make a decision. It's not so much about like what decision.
Or the right decision. Right.
But it's in the what and the how. It's more about the why. Drill down to the why these things are important and open their eyes to a bigger picture, and it helps them become a better citizen. It helps them become just a better contributor to this whole thing.
Yep.
Right?
So give us a little background on, did you go to Marlette High School?
Sure did.
Okay.
Go Red.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in high school, did you play sports?
I did. Yep, I did. So that's another thing about growing up in the country, right? So our pastimes were about athletics, and it's just like communities like St. Clair. I live in Marysville, right? And the school is really the heartbeat.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
And so to be involved in school athletics was something that was a way not only to contribute back to the community, but also show that, hey, we're a participant here. We're a part of this greater team. And I loved representing my school, through football, basketball, baseball, track.
Yep.
Every I was a gym rat.
Okay.
If the gym was open or the field was open, I was there.
So you played basketball, you played football?
All of it.
Okay.
All of it.
Okay. Mother, father, siblings. Give me a little background.
I have a little bit of both.
Okay. Yeah.
My mom and dad, they raised us in Marlette, both Detroiters.
Okay.
Originally, and they came up in the early 80s, and they brought this young family with them, and that's where we were raised.
What took them up there?
I think it was a change of pace. My dad being very entrepreneurial, and so there was always the idea of growing, development, improvement, always looking for these really neat opportunities. And so here you have this city kid, fresh out of the Marine Corps, and he's looking to do something. He went, you're 21, 22 years old. I mean, you just got, you're a world beater at that moment in your life, right? And so let's go do something. So he found this beautiful Victorian farmhouse in the middle of the country, and he and my mother fell in love with it, and that was it.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, myself and 4 siblings were raised on that property, and it carries a very, very special place in my heart, just because of all the bigger life lessons that you can really learn about yourself, right? Growing up, like I talked about the self-sufficiency. I come from a larger family, so how to cooperate, like I talked about all those things earlier. And I'm proud. My younger brother Neil, phenomenal talent. He works for ITC Holding Company.
Okay.
He stepped up to the plate and he bought the homestead.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a very beautiful thing to have this place that you really care about. For all of my siblings, right? But to have one of us step up and take care of it and then call it their own. And
Okay.
it's a gathering place.
Yeah,
It's really neat.
And where do you fall in the pecking order of age with the siblings?
Second oldest, but probably the most immature. Like,
Okay.
no, I'm second. I have one older brother and then 3 younger. Yeah.
And no sisters?
One sister.
Okay. Okay.
She was number 4 of the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you go to college?
So I picked up my undergrad from Central Michigan University and my graduate degree from University of Georgia. And so,
Bulldogs.
Go Dogs.
Okay.
Go Dogs.
How many years did you spend in Greater Atlanta?
6 years. My wife and I, we moved there right after college. We went down. Truth be told, she had a job offer. She was valedictorian, 4.0. She was a Pepsi scholarship winner, paid for her entire college experience. She's super smart.
So you married up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? My stock went up. She took a hit. She definitely took a hit, but no, my stock went way up.
Okay.
No, but she's from Peck, Michigan.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
So we share a lot of the same values, and it was neat because we can honestly say we grew up together,
Sure.
right? And we've experienced a lot of life together. But no, we were there 6 years. We started our family in Atlanta,
Okay.
and then we migrated north, and then we landed back home because we knew we wanted to be here.
Okay. And so you've been in a couple other positions in public life, we'll call it, working where?
Oh yeah, I mean my entire career has been in the nonprofit public sector space. I mean that's what I know.
Okay.
Traditionally trained to go into public affairs, public relations. I cut my teeth as a middle school grammar teacher.
Okay.
So you can imagine.
Right,
You can
right.
imagine. But man, the lessons I learned in that very first job, it was amazing. I actually, just a sidetrack on the story, I was actually interning for Special Olympics Michigan when I was at CMU, and it was there that I realized, an epiphany that, hey, listen, we need to help people, and we, as me, right?
Yeah.
I need to help as many people as I can in the greatest impact that I can. And becoming a school principal is what I landed on. And so those 3 years of teaching in the school, learning the art and the craft of education, led me to become a school administrator at a fairly young age.
Okay.
And then that alone springboarded me into a superintendency for schools in the South Bend, Indiana area.
Okay.
And so that superintendency developed a skill set in economic development, which is really strange because I invested so much time on the education side, but economic development opened opened my eyes to the idea that, man, we can really affect change, and we can do this in a very positive way, responsible way. And so I stepped into economic development and spent the better part of 4.5 years there. And it took me from St. Clair County EDA for 2.5 years, where I focused on entrepreneurship and business attraction. And then I left the county. I stayed here, always lived in Marysville since we moved back. Left to run Lapeer County as the county administrator.
Okay.
And so it was while I was doing county administration work, which is fabulous work. It's very different than local municipal government. County government's completely
Right.
different. But a lot of the skills are necessary for both. And it was at that time that I received a phone call and said, hey, this opportunity's coming up. We'd like you to take a look at it. Had no idea, what local municipal government was really all about. But the more I researched and spoke with good mentors, good, solid people right here in the community about what is what and how would this work, it just turned into a conversation that allowed me to say, yep, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. I'm 5 minutes from home.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Instead of an hour.
So you can be
It's
to the kids
everything.
baseball, basketball.
Everything, not miss a single thing. And I remember in my interview they said, hey, what are you all about? Why? Why are you leaving a county administrator job? You have 500 employees and 28 departments. What are you doing, right? I said, the one thing that this job would afford me is time.
Yeah.
I can't make
The home
more,
life. Right.
I can't make more of it. I can't I can't create it, right? So I've got to make it. I've got to make time. And having an 11, 9, and 4-year-old, time is everything.
Oh, yeah.
Time is absolutely everything. And for my wife too. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father, and time is essential in that equation.
What's your wife do for a living?
Runs everything.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
The household?
No, she's the captain of the ship.
Okay.
No doubt. No, she works for the state of Michigan for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation.
Okay.
She's a senior business development manager, and so she has a very interesting job because it's all economic development. We know the same people, and we run in those
Okay.
same circles, which is
Okay.
which is
Does
kind
she
of
work?
interesting.
Does she work in the city, or does she work from home?
Yep. She works at a home office, and then her main hub is in Lansing, and so
Okay.
she needs to make that commute, every now and then to touch
Okay.
base. But it's been a game changer just being this much closer to home.
yeah,
It really
I imagine.
has.
Okay.
It really has.
When did you decide you wanted to get into the public sector? Was it just one of those opportunities that just happened to come along when you were teaching?
Yeah. No, I remember the day and time. It was I graduated in 2006 from CMU, and it was 2000. It was the summer of 2006 where it was, this is what you're doing, and I never looked back. So pushing 17 years,
Okay.
I have not changed my mind about public service and what it means to, give back to communities that, have a very important role. This community, we talked about young people earlier, and we have a role in that.
Yes.
We need to support parents. Parents are trying to figure this out, right? And no matter what walk of life you're coming from, a parent and their child is it's one of those assets in a community that you cannot take for granted.
Correct.
Right? So you got to sow good seeds for parents, so they can get them on the right path and support them and make it better for them, right? And to be a helper and not ever enter into public service taking advantage of the public will and taking advantage of the public finance, because this thing doesn't run without the public.
Right.
Right? We do not run without the support of the public. So we have a critical responsibility to be good stewards with their money and be good stewards. I say money, it's taxes, right? But be good stewards, on their behalf. And I take that role extremely seriously.
Okay.
Yep.
So you started in January of 2023.
Yep. New kid on the block.
So
yeah.
you've been here
Yeah.
6 months now.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit earlier. It's nothing that was on fire. It was humming along, we'll call it. But there's a lot on the plate, whether it's the big construction projects going up on Range Road with the commercial business, whether it's the theater in town,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of different things going on.
Oh, yeah.
Kearney Drive being replaced, if you will.
Yeah, so it's a double-edged sword, right? You can be in a community that has no development and a low
Right.
tax base, and you're like, oh, we're struggling,
Right.
where do we get these extra revenues? Because we want to do all these things, Or you can be in St. Clair's position where things are happening, development is going on like crazy, and so the complexities in staying on top of all those different developments is it's a difficult task, but it's a worthwhile task, right? 'Cause we need to make this work, right? Like we don't have a choice. We have to make it work, right? So Magna's here,
Yep.
right? So Magna has needs, right? But also our residents have needs too.
Sure.
Balancing the two and never favoring one over the other, right?
Sure.
And then you have a $5 million investment by the Vertons, and you look at it and you say, you're a community on the right path, right? When you have quality of life, tourism,
Right.
recreation as your highest investment. Think about that.
Right.
So if you're investing at those kind of levels in communities who already have development going on, those are all indicators of a very healthy community,
Sure.
right? And so, all indicators are green, right?
Okay.
Every single one of them. The only thing that I really want to nail down, on a 5-year plan is roads, sidewalks, safety. These are critically important because as you have more people come into town, you're going to have more usage on that asset, and we need to make sure that our residents, right, have as nice a roads as anybody
Sure.
coming in from out of town.
The other thing we talked about before the camera rolled, we talked about the issue of our infrastructure. And I don't say this, because you're new or you're sitting here, but as I said, the infrastructure is a generation old.
Oh.
It's before I was around.
Well, I mean, look at all like water plants and sewer plants,
Sewer.
and look at roads, right?
Right.
It's not sexy stuff.
No.
Right? And 90% of it is underground.
Right.
Right? It's just what people, they turn their tap on and they want the water. They want clean water.
Yes.
Right? To come out of that faucet, right? The chemistry, the science,
Right.
the pumps, the pipes,
And the new-
these machines, nobody sees it. Nobody
Right.
has any idea the work and the sophistication that goes into those systems, right? And I'll tell you what, Craig, I would love to put our infrastructure on tour. I would
Right.
love to educate the residents
Yes.
at any moment they said, I was curious about what. Come on.
Yeah, let's go see it.
Come on, let's go see it. I will take you there myself, and let's go see it. And that's a commitment I will make.
Yeah. Well, the other thing people, I always say, you know, with water and sewer and stuff, people don't realize every time they flush that toilet, water's got to go downhill, and it's got to go downhill some more, and then it might go to a pump station to pump up. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts there.
Oh, there's a lot of moving
Yeah.
parts, and when you think about the engineering, the civil engineering involved in it,
That might be 50 years old.
could
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
could be. Roads.
Yeah.
It's roads. Like
Yeah.
in my opinion, like probably the most used asset outside of the water and sewer.
Right.
Right. Is roads and what we travel on, because to a family who might be on a fixed income, right? Or
Sure.
they could be going through something, right? And they hit that pothole.
And cost them a tire or a
Tire,
shock.
a struck,
Yeah.
right, a shock, something like that, and they're looking at that $1,000 bill or a $2,000 bill, and the demand for that type of labor is so backed up. We can't get you a vehicle for 2
Right.
weeks.
Yeah. I got to go to work.
That's real stress.
Yes.
That's real stress that's put
Yeah.
on a family, and especially if somebody's just hanging on, and they're saying, and it's not just about. I'm not talking just this concept about poverty. I'm talking about the concept about what if it's a senior on a fixed income, right?
Yeah.
And that mode of transportation is how they get to the pharmacy,
Right, the
they get to the
doctor.
grocery, they get to the doctor, right? They're aging in place in St. Clair, and they're hit with $1,000,
Right.
car repair, right?
Oh, yeah.
Could it have been avoided if we would have had better conditions of roads? That's how I think about
Right.
it, right?
Right.
Because it's a direct impact on our residents' pocketbooks, right?
Yep.
And we want to say we need to do more with less, and that's fine. Challenge accepted, because I'm keeping that grandmother, I'm keeping that single mom, I'm keeping that that family who just moved into the area, who has young children and disposable income. It's something that they have
Sure.
to have, right?
Yep.
Not on car tires,
Yep.
right? But
Let's talk about Magna.
Yeah.
Everybody around knows that Magna's here. But they don't know the integral things that go on. Like for example, I'm not asking for exact numbers, but like Magna's been there 3-4 years now, and it might be 5 or 6. I don't know, but
one actually,
well, 1 year. Well, they've been there longer than a year, haven't they?
about a year, about 2 years, yeah.
So how many jobs roughly are there now?
300, just over 300 jobs are in operation. After phase 2, though,
Right, that was my next question.
after phase 2, we'll have 900 plus new
Okay.
jobs in the community.
Okay.
Yeah,
And obviously those are career type jobs.
absolutely.
Yeah, those are.
Oh, you can expand all the way up from somebody in the service industry all the way up to the engineering department.
Right.
At a place like Magna, because they have the resources for talent development in-house.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And so to be an employee, at a place like that, and really there's actually a lot of good examples of manufacturers in our community, in our backyard, who really look after their employees start to finish, because they're competing.
Oh yeah.
They're competing for that seat, and they want to make sure that they take care of their employees, right? I got to hand it to them. I've met some fantastic general managers and plant managers here in St. Clair, and they're all saying the same thing, right? We want to take care of our people.
Yeah.
Some things they can control,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Some they can't. Wages being at the top of the order, right? How do we stack up against wages? Because for some families, it's a decision about, I will drive out of town.
Right.
I'll make that commute 30-40 miles because it's $5 an hour more,
Sure,
or 6, 7,
sure.
whatever their profession is. But
Yep.
but those are real decisions that happen around the dinner table, right?
Right. Well, as someone like yourself that has driven, across to Lapeer, it's not free to drive 30 miles every day
Man.
and go through a car every couple years.
26,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's
And
real
when
money.
price was cranking out at almost over $4 a gallon.
Right.
Right. It was
Now-
noticeable.
What kind of dollars does, say, Magna in their current state, or say with phase 2, what kind of dollars and taxes does it bring to the city of St. Clair, roughly?
Oh, well, you base it on assessed value,
Yeah.
right? And so you look at the land, you look at the building that's on the land,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's other variables that go into it. And but an assessed value, when it's all said and done, I mean, we're talking about was it $435 million of new investment? Don't quote me on that
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
number, but
yeah.
it's
or take.
I'm in there, give or take a
Yeah,
couple million,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then you could work out. Then you could work out the math. I don't really know right off the top of my head,
Would
but
you say a couple $100,000 a year?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, easily.
So
Easily.
And the reason I bring that up is people talk about it, and people may complain, well, they got a tax abatement. Well, but you got to understand, at the end of the day, the city's taking in more today than they did 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and it helps Joe Public in the sense that
Exactly.
he's not having to pay more into the city to get the same services.
Exactly. So, the age-old argument is about tax abatement. Why are you giving somebody a break, right? Being from the economic development
Right.
world and seeing really how it affects a community when you give an abatement, there's been projects in St. Clair County that have walked away
Right.
based on the financial stack, right?
Sure.
When it's all said and done,
Yeah.
it's more than one variable about will the tax abatement. The tax
Right.
abatement is actually a very small portion of the larger package that these companies look for when they land. Think about it. It's 1 million square feet
Right.
in St. Clair, Michigan, who's going
Right.
to hire, right, a sixth of the existing population.
Well, they need
just by the
they
numbers.
need plumbers. They need all kinds of engineers.
Oh, well, it's 1,000 people that they're going to hire inside of a city that has
Right.
6,000 people,
Right.
And so obviously, 50% of something is better than 0%
Right.
of anything.
Yes.
So that 50%, and we're collecting taxes on that right now in that phase
Yep.
one, and over the the life of the abatement, those taxes will come in, and then we will
Sure.
see that new revenue, right? But we won't be flush.
Right.
If you really think about it, the cost of everything goes up.
Correct.
Right, over time, right?
Yep.
Inflation continues to go up, so the cost of services continue to go up. But we will see positive revenues from Magna, no doubt about
Well,
it.
not only that, but new housing. There will be a trickle down effect to new housing.
Has to be. Well, they use water.
Yep.
They flush their toilets,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So there's water fees, there's sewer fees, like all those types of things add up to the total
Right.
cost, right? But at the end of the day, Craig, and I sorry to cut you off, but you got me rolling here now. Is at the end of the day, we want to see development have a positive effect at the community at large,
Sure.
right? And we want to see that who comes into the community is a good partner, right? Whether
Right.
it be corporate, residential,
Yeah.
industrial, commercial, we want good partners because it takes all those types of people and all those contributors to the community to make this thing go,
Yep.
right? And so we want to do right by the people because they're here, they're raising families here, and like I said before in my bit about taking care of those residents first, it is important. It's extremely important that we look at residents first.
Well, another thing that a lot of people don't know, and I don't know if it's exactly happened in the city of St. Clair, but over the last 20, 30 years, a lot of their biggest water users have gone away.
Oh.
In some cases.
I know industrial usage.
Right.
Right. Industrial users, especially if they're water-based. There's huge. Think about it, Magna alone, right? So what they're doing is they're creating the battery trays that go in EV vehicles.
Right.
These trays are, they're
Size of a vehicle.
Their size. It's the chassis of a vehicle,
underneath,
right?
Yep.
But you got to think about the work to not only just make it, but to prep it. And
Right.
and so I've taken a tour of the facility, and it's automated and it's beautiful. They use a lot of water.
Yes.
They use an incredible amount of water. That benefits the city because there's
Correct.
charges against
Yes.
there's charges against that water
Right.
usage. So they come in, they're paying their fair share. There's no abatement on water.
Right. Or sewer.
There's no abatement on those things,
Right.
right? They're paying full freight
Yes.
for their usage on that, right? And and so what do you get? What do you get for in exchange for that? Job opportunity,
Yep.
increased wages, better quality of life, right? A career that can withstand recessions,
Sure.
right? A career that can withstand up and downs in the economy that say, oh, you don't think about changing careers or whatnot. There might be a spot, even within Magnus, hey, I'm working in this industry and I really like a new opportunity. Magnus more than likely, being able to afford those opportunities
Yep.
because they're so large and complex like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There's also another thing happening. I happened to see it by way of putting my boat in the other day
Okay.
and going around the salt company.
Okay.
A lot of people maybe don't even know it.
Cargo's in full expansion mode right now.
Yeah, there's a big expansion going on
Huge.
the riverside. And
Huge
somebody
expansion.
told me a number, 100 million?
Oh, that might be heavy.
Okay.
That might be heavy, but it's substantial. I think around 60 or so.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that
Many
one.
millions.
Yeah, many.
Yeah.
But and you think about it again, like here's a company that's been in St. Clair, right? Change of hands, different brands
Right.
and things like that.
Yeah.
But their core product,
100 years.
is a staple of this community,
Right.
and they're still investing.
Well, the first thing I
No?
thought when I saw it, and I talked to a friend who has a couple of our friends that work there, was that bodes well for the generation that's working there now and the next generation for jobs.
100%. 100%. When you see your company making those types of investments, they're not planning on leaving.
Yeah, they're not thinking of closing down.
Right. That should be those should be
Expansion.
signals of job security, right?
Yes.
When you're seeing your company that you work for really put that type of dollar into the place you
and
go every day.
especially a company like Cargill, because they've got facilities all over the world. They're
Right.
one of the largest independent companies in the world, and they don't have to do it in St. Clair if they don't feel it's necessary.
And if you drill into that a little bit more, and you say you could be anywhere in the world. That's a cliche. You could be anywhere in the world, right? But you choose to be in St. Clair, right? But so there must be something that's driving people to not only to stay, but it's driving companies to know that they can have a future here, which is like, for a city manager type,
That's
dude.
keep talking.
That is like that is music to my ears. We'll handle the paperwork, right? Just keep investing.
Give me
keep
3
it
more
going.
companies like those 2 we just talked about. Life would be pretty good.
Yeah, you're going to give me. I'm going to need 200 more acres.
Exactly.
We're getting tight on land.
Yeah.
We're getting tight
now,
on land.
well, conversely, let's talk about the issue. You get some people that say, we don't want to grow. We don't want our country road to be a paved road.
Sure.
But I look at it and I say, you know what? Things are going to change. Technology is going to change. Advancement's going to change. Growth is going to change. Realistically, and if I was sitting here talking to a pessimist, I would tell him, you have to be willing to change. Mm-hmm. It's going to plow you over if you don't.
Yeah, it's inevitable. I like the word that you use is plow. So if you think let's just look at agricultural land, for instance. Would any, and I grew up around farms, and I understand that. My father-in-law farms to this day, right? And, they did it one way 50 years ago.
Right.
They do it a different way today.
Today they got tractors, you can almost type in a quarter.
They do. They lay it out on GPS, and it's on autopilot, right? These calves, these combines, nobody thinks about it. These are $1 million farmers.
Yes.
You have combines,
$1
million combines with more technology in them, right, than some homes.
Yes.
So you think about it, like the whole change concept, right? It's about they have agricultural people or land preservation or land conservationists. They have a good point.
Yeah.
Right. We need our land, and we need to have outlets, right, that are untouched. I think nature is a beautiful thing that people should enjoy and to use and experience.
Sure.
Right. Change is inevitable. We adapt, but it's at the rate of change. Right?
Yeah.
And I think it's all about the intention of change, right?
Yeah.
I think the intention needs to be pure. And if the intention is right, then those people who are thinking about negative development, right, they can recognize an authentic person.
Sure.
They can recognize an authentic intent. And if the intent is good, usually there's no problem, right?
Yep.
If it looks nefarious, sounds nefarious, smells nefarious, probably is. And and let me tell you, a good land conservationist sniffs that out real quick and lets you know.
Okay.
Yep.
We've covered quite a bit here.
Yeah, we did cover a little bit of ground. I enjoyed it, Craig. I really did.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in. I think that we're going to put you on the list of have you come back in maybe 6 more months and we'll do another one because I'm sure there'll be things changing and growth.
Roads, I can tell you now.
Yeah.
That, and I think we said this before we got started, was get in an airplane, take a snapshot of what's going on in St. Clair. 6 months from now, take another snapshot, right? You're going to see fresh pavement, clean sidewalks. You're going to see people getting to and from work, right, with less stress because the roads are built in such a way that's not going to bang their vehicles, right?
Let me talk about one last thing I thought of as we're speaking here. Back when they started this project years ago, I won't say skeptical. I was like, let's see how this goes. And I'm going to say fast forward maybe 15 years, and I go, it's probably one of the best assets the area has because people of all walks of life use it, and it's the bike trails. I'm a big believer in it, whether it's you want to walk, whether you want to walk your dog, whether you want to ride your bike.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're ever expanding that to go bay to bridge.
Right, exactly right.
So, and that's a pretty cool thing.
It's a really cool thing. And it comes down to accessibility and mobility.
Yeah.
People need to be able to move, right? And people need to be able to get to A to B, not necessarily by a car, right? And so we're still very automobile
Yeah.
reliant,
Yep.
right? But for recreation purposes, for tourism, and just for people who live in town or want to come in from out of town and get close to it
yeah.
and experience trails in a more city atmosphere and getting down to Palmer Park and
Right.
enjoying you know what I mean, the
Yep.
Jazz Fest and Art
Yep,
Fest that
yep.
are coming up, right? You know, you imagine people are going to be parked how many layers in
Right.
during the 4th of July
Yes.
fireworks show,
Yeah.
right?
Just ride your bike.
Yeah, ride your bike. Or, you know what I mean? Or I just, I really want people to, when they come in, I want them to have, it's like you get to have these first impressions of your city all the time. You get to make a first impression by every year with these big events.
Sure.
Because there's somebody new coming into town.
Yep.
Right? And that is our opportunity to showcase, like, hey, infrastructure's on point. We take care of our roads, right? We put money aside for preservation.
Right.
And we make sure that when we are having an event, right, all hands on deck,
Yep.
right? And we're giving the people, our residents and out-of-towners, a good experience.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, there's a
The trails have everything to do with that.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that are going right with that scenario. The marina, the boardwalk this time of year.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, St. Clair's the
Yeah.
place to be.
Yeah, it is.
Like, no, it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
One last thing, since you mentioned it,
Sure.
I've been to the Jazz Fest. If you have never been there, you need to go.
You need to go.
It is a world-class event that's free.
Free. Free. Pack it in. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the plaza behind you that can take care of any need that you have. There's vendors there.
Yep.
And you know what? To throw a blanket out and to have world-class blue water,
Yeah.
right,
Alexander
in eyesight.
Alexander
Right?
Zontrack is a big deal in the jazz
right?
world.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so to be able to pull that off in such a picturesque community, right? And for free.
Oh, I think
You just show.
Yeah.
I bring my kids here. We throw a blanket down. We've been
Yeah.
doing it for years. Like,
Yeah.
we love it.
Oh,
We
that's
absolutely
cool.
love it.
Yep. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, Craig, it's
we
my
will
pleasure.
see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. CTV6 signing off on number 53, I guess.
Perfect.